Today I have the very great honor to welcome a special guest, Mr. David Schmidt. And I was going to start out by introducing him with how many patents has he developed in relationship to the product that he's produced. How many times he's been listed on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing private companies. And then I come across this, and I think this summarizes the spirit of the company. So I want to make note that he was the very first to receive a very special honor from the Military Order of the Purple Heart. And this award symbolizes the help that he's given to the suffering during a crucial moment of need. I think that is extremely profound and amazing. So I want to say welcome, David. Thank you for taking time to be with us today.
Oh, thank you, Felicia. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for having me here today. I think this is going to be a lot of fun as we talk about how to liberate people from pain with technology as opposed to using drugs. And we have a lot of experience with that we'll share with everybody.
Yes, and that's the whole point of what I'm trying to do with this series. So I think that's I don't know, I've had really good feedback from people. So, and I want to welcome our guests. I'm Felicia Harvey, your host for the Pain-Free Masterclass, and say welcome. And I hope you're ready to enjoy the next 30 minutes or so, because I think we've got some really amazing information to share with you. So with that, I'd like to ask David to share a little bit with us about his background, his history, that led up to the point where he's developed this amazing company.
Well, thank you. When I first graduated from college, I did work in designing very traditional medical devices, things like nasogastric tubes and IV line sets. And I had went to school initially for a degree in computer science and management, but eventually went back for biology. And then later on, I owned a number of companies. But really what set me on this path is that I had been developing survival equipment for the U.S. Navy through government contractors. And I had an opportunity to work on equipment for a next generation mini sub. And one of the goals was that we wanted to see if we could introduce any new technology to keep people alive longer. And at the time, the crew were Navy SEALs, and they were going on really long missions, and they had to use caffeine and pep pills, amphetamines to stay awake. And I thought, I've been interested in nutrition my whole life. Maybe there's a way that we could have a natural substance or a new technology to keep them awake longer. And after 3 years of research, I found that the solution was in light therapy and using very specific wavelengths of light to turn on energy production in the cell. And this opened up a whole new way of looking at our biology and how to really even improve the way we age.
And I'll just a point of transparency for our audience. I'm a distributor with LifeWave. I've used them now for over 3 years in my practice. I also use the low-level laser in my practice, hence the introduction to this form of phototherapy. So I want everybody to know that this is a product that I've used, and I have had a remarkable amount of success with it. And I love this. The simplicity of it is so elegant in how it works and how it changes our physiology. And I think that what you have done to discover those little links is amazing. So, so thank you for that information. So would you like to explain just a little bit about how this technology, these wearable Band-Aids, is what I accused my sponsor of when he called to introduce me to the product. I was kind of rude, and I said, I don't know how you put a laser in a Band-Aid kind of a thing. So,
Right.
But if you will explain to our audience how this really beautiful technology works, I'd appreciate it.
If it makes you feel any better, we put the last 10 years We put over $4 million into development into this in looking at the regenerative aspects of the technology and figuring out how can we activate stem cells, heal the body faster, which of course is very, very closely related to pain management. But the short answer to this is inside the crystals, inside the patches rather, are organic crystals, and they reflect very specific wavelengths of light. So this is a form of low-level light therapy without the electronics. They're really what we would refer to as organic optoelectronics, meaning that we can use the patch as a filter to reflect back specific wavelengths of light that will stimulate the nerves and acupuncture points on the surface of the skin and produce a biochemical response. So, for example, we just today I found out, what I'm very excited about, we had a new clinical study that just got published in peer review, and we're demonstrating that our X39 patch, which is used to activate stem cells and also plays a role in pain management, elevates a peptide in the body called GHK. It's a simple tripeptide, but it has a very, very high affinity for copper. And when you elevate this peptide, it will play a role in managing inflammation. So those people that are suffering in pain and healthcare practitioners such as yourself that want to help people resolve pain naturally, being able to reduce inflammatory markers and elevate antioxidants are going to be a very significant and important part of that process. But simple answer is it's low-level light therapy. We stimulate the skin with the patch, and in return, we get a significant biological effect.
And with that said, I think it's really important to emphasize the point that there are no drugs involved. There's nothing that enters the body except this photon of light. And I think a very point of evidence of that is that these are used in the veterinary field as well, with horses that are competing. And I think if you can get past those drug tests, you can probably get past any kind of a drug test. So,
Oh, sure.
yeah. So I think that's a...
Yeah, 10 years now. Oh, apologies.
Yeah, no, go ahead. So.
Yeah, 10 years now, there have been over 5,000 clinical studies published on the benefits and the science behind phototherapy. And, if we went back 20 years when I started with this, phototherapy was considered snake oil.
Yeah.
And people used to say, well, there's no scientific basis. Yet we know that you go in the sun and light causes the body to elevate vitamin D. So really, it's surprising that scientists didn't look at this as something, okay, we should know it works. We just haven't discovered really the pathway. And of course, today what we know is that when you stimulate the skin with very specific wavelengths of light, it will increase a biochemical called cytochrome C oxidase, which participates in the energy production cycle in the cell. And we won't get into all the biochemistry to bore people, but it's sufficient to say that now today we understand the science behind this. We can, when you draw blood, you can see changes in the blood, and we understand why that happens. And this means that we can use light therapy to improve people's health in ways that was never achievable before.
Yeah, I used to my students would kind of laugh at me when I was teaching anatomy and phys, because I'd almost dance on the desk about talking about the mitochondria and the Krebs cycle. All of that. So it's so just awesome that it comes back to still be a part of the career, even though I've changed pathways. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
That or go, yeah. So now, and you spoke about how the new patch, the latest one that you've developed, is involved in a myriad of different pathways in the body, one of which is to stimulate and activate existing stem cells and create more, but also that its role in addressing inflammation. So it is a important part of the pain management technique. In fact, you've got other products out there that were specifically designed for pain, but I personally tend to go with the X39 first, because you have to fiddle with it less. I don't like to
Right.
fiddle with things. And if it takes care of the problem, then it also has so many other beneficial side effects that I rely on the other products only to enhance the effect of the X39 if that doesn't completely alleviate the problems. So we've established, and it has so many amazing benefits, as you've indicated, anti-aging, anti-inflammation. And they've been documented, which I
Oh,
think
yeah.
is amazing. So let's digress just a little bit, and let's talk about some of the other products that you have that were, well, I know like the IceWave patches were initially, their whole purpose was to address pain. And then you've got other patches that I know, listening to various doctors speak, they have their preferences on which ones they like to use because it does this. And so for a long time, I was a little bit hesitant to mix and match because I didn't understand the benefit. If you was just stacking one on top of the other, I was like, you got to prove to me that that works. And it took me a little bit of time to understand, well, that addresses something different and that does. And so sometimes you need to do both of those. So if you'd speak a little bit to maybe the way that the IceWave patches work, and because they very specifically address inflammation, correct?
Yes, and IceWave was the first product. Yes and no. IceWave was the first product that we put out to market for pain management. And it's still today a very, very effective product. We did a clinical study with Dr. Pierre Volkmann in France. He's a very, very well-known medical doctor in the field of pain management. And as a result, we found it was over 93% of the people that used the product experienced pain relief. And that was within 5 minutes of use. So IceWave and related products such as Eon, glutathione, they'll produce very, very rapid results. X39 is on a whole other level because of the way it works. But to your point, let's start at the beginning. What's so interesting about this is that we can explain things from the point of view of either Eastern or Western medicine, but it really describes the same process. And that is when someone experiences pain, it's a blockage in the flow of energy. Now that sounds very Eastern, and it is. If we were going to speak about it in Western terms, we would say that there has been a change in the impedance or the resistance of the tissue, and now you're not getting nerve conduction, and you're getting blocking of the signals, and now a person is interpreting that as pain. But it's really describing the same phenomena. So then the question is, if pain is a bioelectrical phenomena, that means we shouldn't necessarily need a drug. We should be able to resolve pain bioelectrically. And we know this is true because TENS units have been around for many, many years, and that's exactly what they do. So could we use light therapy to relieve pain? And of course, we know from prior experience, the answer is yes, but most people don't want to walk around, with a lamp or do several LED treatments or laser treatments per day. So what do? Well, the IceWave system was developed with the goal that it would first increase mitochondrial energy. And so now we have a pool of energy, and now all we have to do is move that through the damaged tissue, and we should be able to have a favorable change in the impedance of the tissue and reduce the signaling of the pain. And that's exactly what happens with IceWave. Later on, we got more sophisticated, and we started to target peptides like glutathione, SOD, another one called phenylacetylglutamine. And basically, what these peptides will do is either function as antioxidants or trigger a decrease in inflammatory markers. And this sets off a cascade where now the tissue conductivity improves, so someone gets an immediate reduction in pain. And then within about 20 minutes, the inflammation goes down, and they find that they're now recovering from what the underlying issue was. So it's a combination of both moving the energy through the nervous system as well as clearing out the inflammation.
Okay, so so you mentioned the glutathione, which is a powerful antioxidant and works as an anti-inflammatory. And typically we think of it as our detoxing type of a product because it does help do that, which is also important in helping to remove chemical pain mediators that we might find in the tissue.
Sure.
So, so when we apply like the ice wave, that's attacking pain issue from one point of view. And then if we need to additionally add a glutathione to that, we're addressing different components of the pain mechanism that may be present in that tissue, correct?
Yes, but let's use, I tell you what, to make it clear, let's use a specific example of why would someone combine glutathione with ice wave. And we would see that, as you correctly pointed out, glutathione is the body's master antioxidant. You find it in high concentrations in the liver. It's involved with detoxification of heavy metals. But when people are faced with systemic pain as a result of an autoimmune disorder, let's say that someone has arthritis, someone has fibromyalgia, Parkinson's disease, and they could have pain throughout the body, we always see a decrease in glutathione. And what's so interesting about this is that when you elevate glutathione levels, the pain starts to come down. So there's some very simple ways that anyone can apply the glutathione patch with ice wave when they're suffering with arthritis, Parkinson's, fibromyalgia, and use this as a pain management tool.
You mentioned glutathione as the master antioxidant in the body. So correct me if I'm mistaken, but we would put both vitamin C and glutathione in the category of antioxidants in the body. They're both kind of working along the same lines. Is that correct?
Yeah, the body has an entire antioxidant system. So there are a number of antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin A that are very well known. People that are in the field, they know coenzyme Q10 as being an important antioxidant associated with the health of the heart. And generally, antioxidants can have a very focused function, but vitamin C and glutathione are relatively ubiquitous. You're going to find those distributed throughout most tissue in the body, and that's in fact one of the reasons why glutathione is the master antioxidant, because it's capable of regenerating other antioxidants, and it's ubiquitous. You find it throughout the body. So and you can even tie longevity into the glutathione levels. So this is something everyone should be concerned about. If they want to protect their immune system, detoxify the body, stay healthy, and have a long life, they really do want to keep their glutathione levels elevated. And a side benefit to this is they're going to be able to get their pain under control as one benefit.
I love it when you have those kind of side effects. That's not
right,
what you read in the fine print.
Right,
So
right.
that's pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
So let me switch for just a second, because I know I heard one of the doctors talk about using Aeon a great deal in helping to manage pain, and they utilize the analogy of you can put other patches on and it may not seem to change anything, and that they would like to use the Aeon patch, which calms the nervous system, helps elevate parasympathetic function, and it finally clicked for me when they said putting an Aeon patch on an already irritated nervous system is like being able to quiet a screaming baby. And the other patches then can work and function. So I was like, oh, now that makes sense. So, so I know that we talk about the Aeon as a de-stress, where it helps to elevate the parasympathetic, which is an important function. But does it also, is there a more direct link to pain other than just calming the nervous system with that particular patch?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Eon today is still one of my favorite patches. I would put it only behind X39 and then some of the experimental patches that I work on. But Eon, that product came out of a very interesting development cycle. I had met a scientist that was doing experiments with bees, and he was looking to see if he could increase the lifespan of bees. And he raised a very simple question: why is it that the queen bee will live many times longer than a worker bee? And it's extraordinary. It's about 50 to 60 times longer. And so he found out that it was the diet of the queen bee, and it was in the royal jelly. There was a peptide that the queen bee was consuming that totally explained the longevity effect. And so he was doing some research, and he had a specialty that I won't get into now, but he found an extraordinary therapeutic effect with this peptide. The problem was that he had to give people injections 300 grams a day in order for them to see this specific therapeutic effect. Of course, he was trying to treat a medical condition with it, which was successful, but it wouldn't be practical, of course, for most people to consume that. And you can't really consume peptides effectively anyway. So I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity to develop a anti-aging product. The human body already already produces this peptide naturally in the liver, but as we age, the levels of this peptide begin to decrease. So I got to work, I developed the Eon patch, and we found through blood testing that we could elevate the peptide. As we got into further tests to really see what it was doing, one of the tests showed that it elevated the antioxidant SOD. So when we think of antioxidants in our body that are important, SOD and glutathione go right to the top as two of the most important antioxidants. The other thing that we saw, to your point, is we did a clinical study with a scientist who had spent most of his work and life at Department of Defense, Dr. Tom Budzinski. And he was the one that was able to demonstrate that within seconds, Eon would begin to bring the autonomic nervous system into balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic. And of course, the advantage of this now is as you get the nervous system into a balanced state, the levels of inflammation are going to start to come down as a result of conserving the body's resources of antioxidants and for other reasons. But long story short, we found out very, very quickly that Eon is a broad spectrum anti-inflammatory. So in the practical universe that we live in here for people suffering in pain, a very simple protocol is X39 on the back of the neck, and that gets your stem cells going for supporting healing, and then Eon patch at the site of pain. If there's pain throughout the body, you can just put Eon below the belly button or where you like. But the
Whoops, we seem to have
protocol for people to reduce inflammation. Oh, sorry. That's a very simple protocol for people to reduce inflammation and get their pain under control.
So just simply utilizing the X39, which stimulates the healing process, and then the Eon patch to help with the inflammation, and which is also going to be decreasing cortisol levels, which is also going to be helpful, beneficial for the healing process too. So
absolutely
awesome. And then let me get back then to, there's just so many questions to ask. Let me get back to the other one of the, I think of it as maybe one of your original patches, your carnosine patch, because I've used this quite a little bit to facilitate wound healing before the X39 was available, and really even before the Alavita, which I also use for wound healing, because since it kind of stimulates the skin cells, I think of it as in relationship to any kind of epithelial cells. So may not be correct, but I use it with that mindset. So I use Alavita some for wound healing too, but The carnosine I've used quite a little bit for wounds and for scar tissue, but I know that it also plays an important part in the pain management process too. So could you address that a little bit for us?
Sure. Carnosine, actually, I often refer to it as a nutrient that everybody needs, but most people have never heard of. And you really find in the United States, the people that know who carnosine is are athletes. And they know this because they'll take a beta-alanine supplement. Beta-alanine is an amino acid, and it helps support carnosine levels in the body. And carnosine will buffer lactic acid. So it's a way of improving stamina. So originally, we started doing our research on carnosine because we found there was a connection between carnosine and longevity. And in animal studies, animals could live 30 to 40% longer when on a diet rich in carnosine. So that's quite significant. So what exactly is going on there? It has to be a lot more than just simply buffering lactic acid. As it turns out, carnosine can protect the telomeres from shortening. And whenever we have chronic disease, you always see telomere shortening. Now, carnosine will function as an antioxidant, as a buffer of lactic acid. It's stored in the heart, in the brain, and in the skeletal muscle. And it's also a very powerful anti-glycation nutrient. So what that simply means is when you're dealing with people that have wounds and injuries, especially things like diabetic ulcerations, carnosine can play a role in supporting the overall rate at which someone heals. And we've been very lucky to get a number of wonderful testimonials over the years of people that have used carnosine to support their wound healing.
And that glycation process is something that I think is becoming a little bit, well, not maybe a little bit, but more identified with a number of the aging processes. I'm thinking primarily like things that we see going on in the eye.
Right.
And it is, if I'm thinking, if I remember correctly, largely a byproduct of the sugars in our diet. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, overall, the process is in someone that is a young and healthy, anybody, let's say 25 and younger, right, when everything works well. When there's an injury, there's an initial increase in reactive oxygen species. And we often, as we get older, we think of these as being really bad things because they're going to damage healthy tissue. But the reason why they're there is that they're going to be, when there's an injury, they get infection under control. They're going to destroy viruses and bacteria and things that would cause an infection. And then the reactive oxygen species are going to elevate the inflammation, and the inflammation is part of the healing process, and that is actually going to signal the stem cells to come in and start to heal. As we get older, this process gets out of control, and all of these things that we think of as being a normal part of the healing process now become destructive because we're losing our ability to clear it out. So nutrients like copper peptide, glutathione, carnosine can help to manage this process and help support the natural wound healing of the body. So now we would see, like with our X39 product, which people are really amazed that this occurs, very, very minimal scar formation.
Yeah. And so, and it also, in the X39 also increases the rate of healing also, so minimizing scar tissue, increasing healing rate, and it'll also help remodel existing scar tissue, correct?
Yeah, this occurs because it's able to suppress the keloids that would normally form as part of the inflammatory process in the skin. And by getting the keloids and the inflammation under control, the skin is going to heal normally, and you won't have that scar formation.
Okay, now I'm going to put you on the spot.
All righty, let's do it.
Share with us, if you would please, what is your protocol on using the patches? How do you utilize them in your own personal life?
Oh, I thought this was going to be a tough question. This is super easy.
I got one waiting.
Yes. Well, I am a exercise fanatic, and my daughter says to me that I'm one of the few people that have actually benefited from the pandemic. I have a gym here in my home. I train an hour a day, 6 days a week, and so I gear the patches very much towards that and towards longevity. So, as an example, today I'm wearing an X39 behind the neck. I have carnosine below the belly button. For myself, I wear 2 sets of energy patches and I rotate those through different points. But that's because I'm on the extreme. And I'm always trying something new. So, for example, on the inside of my elbow, I have an experimental patch that I've been using, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, my general go-to protocol is going to be X39, carnosine, and energy patches. And then I'll switch out on the weekends, and instead of using carnosine, I'll use glutathione. So, and then I use Eon at night. I used to use Silent Nights and Alavita for many, many years. But then when X39 came along, I said, oh, how am I going to fit in Eon into this? So I had never used Eon at night before, but when I started to do that, it made complete sense. I put it on about 30 minutes before going to sleep, and it gets me into a really, really relaxed state, and then I have a great sleep. So that's my normal protocol. Although I'm always trying things, but that's a gold standard for me now.
That works. And I think it's an interesting combination of the benefits that the different patches offer. So here's my maybe not such a tough question, but do you know if there's a pool out there yet on what your next patch is going to be? Because I've got a couple of ideas I'd like to put money on.
Okay. Well, yes. I would say the way that we look at this, or the way that I look at it, is I want to look at about a 10-year window, the next 10 years, and then what happens after that. So the way I would describe this is the next series of products that we will be releasing all have something to do with stem cells. And we've opened the door with X39. It took 10 years and over $4 million to really come up with this method. And there's a lot of other very, very interesting things that we can do with stem cell technology. There's one product now that I have in development. I won't talk about it today, but I'm excited about it. And but yeah, we are looking at a number of ways that we can introduce new methods that are inexpensive, very, very safe, very effective, so people don't have to use stem cell injections. And we have a few more things coming with that. And then I would say, that might be a 5 to 10 year window. And then beyond that, I like to look at human potential. And I am a big superhero movie fan. And I look at, some superhero movies and science fiction movies and see people have some extraordinary abilities. And I think, humans are probably not reaching their full potential. Maybe we could come out with products to help people reach their potential. So that might be in the future.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Let me go back to a statement that I made in your introduction, because I think this is a statement or a testament to the company itself. And I know that the company has been listed numerous times on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies. And I know I have a little inkling of what's going on in the company now with this new product, but would you like to address kind of what this situation with the company is and where you think it's headed?
It's incredible. So we were able to almost triple our sales from 2018 to 2019 directly because of X39. It was a runaway success from the first time that it was introduced. And we have just received some incredible life-changing testimonials. And so it's just spread around the globe. So now, for example, we have a massive market in Japan, which didn't exist in 2018. We have new markets like Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines that are opening up. And so we just kind of continue this global expansion. So we're going to estimate that this year will probably fall between 180 and 220 million dollars in sales, and that again will come in maybe about triple of where we were in 2019. So we're growing very rapidly, and so I would say for the next couple of years we're going to enjoy some really incredible growth.
And you mentioned that you're in a number of new countries in that Asian, Eurasian area. So how many countries are you currently in now in the world?
Yeah, we distribute to about 100 countries now, in that range. Our key markets are going to be here in North America, US, Canada, Mexico. Our corporate headquarters is in San Diego. We manufacture in the United States, and we also have a very large facility in Ireland for the past 10 years. That's a 48,000 square foot between two different buildings where we manufacture, have customer service, order fulfillment, quality systems. And that allows us to distribute from there throughout the European Union. And then, of course, we have key distribution facilities throughout Asia as well. So, yeah, we have quite a far reach. We've been around for 15 years, so we've been able to develop an infrastructure. And now that we're having this phenomenal growth, being in business for that long has really paid off.
Yeah, it's situated, the company, I think, very favorably. And I think it's an amazing market today, right now. I think it has many health benefits to offer people, and it also has many business benefits to offer people. So I think it's just a beautiful choice for the time that we are in right now. So I think that's awesome. I think I pretty well, I could go on forever, probably. I learned so much anytime I ever hear you speak about the products. It's just amazing to me. And you're so well versed in like the energy components of the body versus the physiological things that's happening in the body. And I love the way that you marry that information together and how we use the products and offer them to people. So I think that's a really beautiful aspect of what we do. So I think I've pretty much exhausted my time. I'm over, and I know that you have a really packed calendar, but I do want to open the floor to you and see if you have any last words that you'd like to share with our audience today.
Well, first, I want to thank you for your time and giving me this opportunity. This is the best part of what it is that I do, and get to talk to people about our technology and products and how it can benefit them. And as you said, stem cells are the future. And 10 years from now, stem cell therapy is going to be extraordinarily common. It'll be like antibiotics, and things that we might consider impossible today, like curing diabetes, curing heart disease, staying younger for a longer period of time. These will all be normal occurrences at some point in the future. And the problem, though, is today we don't have access to that. It's not safe, and even with services that are offered on stem cell injections, they're very, very expensive. So what we're offering is a way for people to take advantage of stem cell technology, do it in a way that's safe, activate their own stem cells, and have a product that is affordable and very, very effective and produces results quickly. And I think if people take a look at this and they try it out for a month or two, they're really going to be astonished at what it is they see.
And I think that's a fair statement to make, is that you know, a lot of times we put a patch on and we expect immediate results in a situation, things to change. And that's because often that's true. But I think especially with this new patch, I think the real beauty of what it has to offer is that it can help deal with some of those things that are just pestering us right now, but that it can offer long-term benefits in things that we may not even know is going on.
Well, if you have another minute, maybe maybe I could just share this picture with you. I can't resist this now since you did bring it up. But let me go back. Let me share my screen here for a second. And so this is a woman named Mandy from Australia. And this really illustrates your point. She started to experience benefits with X39 her very first month. And then into about 6 weeks, she was great, as you can see, about taking photos. And within 6 weeks, she was already seeing a very, very significant change in the appearance of her skin. And, so she was delighted with it, and she decided to stay on the product for a year. And you can see she looks like she's 10 years younger, maybe more between the two. And the reason for this is that X39 is actually the reason why it works is because the peptide that it elevates, GHK, it actually gets your cells to function like younger, healthier cells. So we all want to look younger and we all want to feel younger, but the consequences of that are really that our body starts to function like a younger, healthier body. So this picture is one of many that we have, but as we were talking, I was thinking of this, and this just so clearly represents that within a few weeks, people will see some great benefits, but when you stay on it, the benefits can be extraordinary.
I like to share with my clients and family, if you are somebody that has ever taken any kind of a vitamin supplement or a supplement of any kind whatsoever, and you do it on a regular basis, this should be a part of your daily care routine. It just should be. I think it's that important. So awesome. Well,
Perfect.
David, thank you so very much. I have enjoyed this tremendously. I feel very honored that you took the time to share with us today. And I look forward to what you have in store for us in the future.
Thank you, Felicia. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Take care now.
Thank you. You too.